Okay, I found the go live button now, so we should be streaming at this point. Let me know in the chat, guys, if the audio's okay, and we'll get started here. So, uh, this is going to be my second live stream. I'm excited to be doing this, and it comes along with some big changes for us here. So, previously we were known as Clyde Glide Ride. It's named after my motorcycle, which is a Bonneville. My dad had a Bonneville, so his was Bonnie, mine was Clyde. But it was just a little too obscure, and if I have to explain it to you, it probably is not a good idea. No one knows what it means, and it's just going to be terrible. So, with that said, I'm excited to announce that we're rebranding, as you may have seen, as Thomas Motor Co. So, we're excited for this. My first and last name are Thomas, so that makes this quite a fitting name. It's quite flexible, so it will allow us to be not only on the Harley side of things, which I own a Harley, my wife owned a Harley, but also Triumph. We're big Triumph fans, and then whatever might come our way. Who knows what we might own, buy, or build. So I think Thomas Motor Co. is good. My cousin Drew made us an awesome logo here that you can see. So that is the new logo for Thomas Motor Co. It's got the classic Triumph look. It's, just, it hits the right notes for us. So we're really excited about that. And, I think it'll be a good way for us to grow, and, it'll just fit us better than our previous logo. So, with that said, that's our new logo. That's going to be our new branding, and we really hope you guys like it. It's a little bit of we borrowed a little bit from Weems Motor Co. There are plenty of other Motor Co's. Harley's often called the Motor Co, right? So I think it's fine. In looking to see if our branding had kind of gone out to the search engines, I of course found that there was a Thomas Motor Co that made cars and motorized bicycles back in the early 1900s, but I think there aren't many people these days that really know about that. So, I don't know. If you pick a name, someone's going to have used it before, basically. So, we'll have to deal with it, right? So, thanks, Taz, for checking on the audio. I appreciate it. So, with that said, let's go into our second item of the night. And that is going to be looking at the Harley Davidson models for 2022 that have at least what's been announced so far. So I'm on the Harley site here. I figured we just go category by category and see what they've actually announced, see what models are there, and talk a little bit about the lineup for 2022. So I think there's some exciting things. I think there's some things that people might miss, but I guess it's Harley's, new strategy, right? They're gonna try and bring something new in, but leave enough old for people there. So there we go. So it looks like there are 5 categories here, 6 if we include electric. And we're not gonna worry about the balance bikes. So we'll start here with sport. Okay. So, we have one motorcycle, the Sportster S. Okay. So this was a big announcement for Harley. A lot of people see this as the future of the Sportster, and I can definitely understand why, especially with the Sportster not being able to be sold in Europe anymore. They needed something to replace it, but I'm not sure, in some ways this fits the bill. It's sporty, it's fast, which the Sportster was at some point, but I don't know if that's going to, really be a replacement. I'll get to why I feel that way. So we'll look at it here. We've got 3 colors, it looks like. Vivid black, of course. It's a Harley staple, and it's got kind of a bronze color for the heads and the I guess that's the primary drive side on the Revolution Max engine. There's white sand pearl. It's interesting. It's like halfway between a pearl white and maybe like a flat dark earth or something like that. That's a pretty cool color. Still bronze here on the engine details. And then mineral green metallic, same colors on the engine, so that always stays the same. So okay, there's the three colors. I mean, I would probably go vivid black, but that's just me. I like the way the logo ties in on the tank there. I guess the other colors do too, but it just doesn't really draw your eye as well, I don't think. Um, so there we go. So there's the Sportster S. I guess we can do a little 360 here on it. Now, I mean, like most Harleys, I guess, the right side of the bike is definitely the more visually interesting. So that's something that stayed the same, I guess. This side does feel a little bland. And it, overall, the looks, I like, some things about it, like the Fat Bob style headlight, I think fits really well here, that, the oval headlight. Looking at the tires, they're very fat, they're very thick, they remind me of like the 48. And then it's got a single front disc, which is a little strange. There, a lot of the other bikes have dual front discs, and it's got the inverted front end, so it almost seems like, why wouldn't you do that? The inverted front end is nice. As we move back, we can see the big radiator. That's, kind of to be expected right there, being a water-cooled bike. The one thing I think that I feel on these bikes maybe is not done as well as other water-cooled bikes these days is just hiding the fact that it is a water-cooled bike. So when I think of like the Triumph twins when they went water-cooled, it looks like almost an oil cooler, right? Just in the center of the frame, it's just right there. It's pretty unobtrusive. When you look at this one here, you can see it's very wide. You've got a filler neck over here. It just feels a little more, they're not making any bones about this being a water-cooled bike, for better or for worse. But I think following on from that trend, you can also see when you look here, there's very little light you can see through. There's like a tiny little peak of light there, tiny little bit back here, but it just looks like a big monolith, right? Maybe a little up here. And I think that's something that, to me, doesn't really harken back to the Sportster. It's, what do people do to the new Sportsters, right? They do the little tank lift, they'll do the wiring tuck, just to get that more open look, so it looks more custom. And I think, the Triumph line also has that, where, you can see the engine, you can see around the engine, and it just feels a little more on the vintage side. But maybe that wasn't what Harley was going for here. As we can continue moving back, I think the exhaust is, I don't know, it doesn't really do much for me. Like, I get it, they're trying to go maybe for like a flat tracker style up high, but it just, I don't know, it doesn't quite do it for me. You've got I think that's the shock adjuster there. You've got a little piece of bodywork protruding there under the seat pan. You've got another piece here covering the exhaust. Like, I think they could have done something better. I know there are restrictions too. They've got to fit the catalytic converters and the muffler in here, but I don't know. I think there's room for improvement. I think this reminds me a lot of the FXDR, and that bike didn't sell well. I like the XR1200 and XR1200X, which I think also has some of this styling. But this just, I don't know. It doesn't do a lot for me. Let's look in the chat here. Taz HD says, I like the new Sportster, but I don't think it's for me. It'll be interesting to see how people customize it. I agree. I don't think it's for me, and I think there's a lot of customization people could do that could really make this feel more custom, more like a Harley, and less like just a water-cooled bike, I guess, is what I feel like. And maybe Harley's just like, we don't want to, try and pretend we're air-cooled or try and keep with that image. Maybe this is their just like hard cutoff, like we're going water-cooled, that's it. But I don't know. And then, you have this stuff like the tail section here, but that's kind of, every bike is going to have that. It's just, regulations, and it is, what the manufacturers have to do. But like Taz HD said, if someone can make a nice kit to tuck the light up there under the tail section, put the plate over here on the swing arm. I think that'll really clean things up and make it look a lot better. So now that we've taken a look at the looks, let's scroll down here. So the price, this is the next thing. So it's $15,000, and that's what it starts at. I'm not sure what options they're going to provide. Hopefully ABS is standard and you don't have to pay another $1,000 for that. But that's, close to double what the Sportster was. I think the Sportsters have increased in price, but I mean, you're getting into Softail territory now, right? That's a lot of money, and it's a lot of performance for the money. It's a good deal. I'm not saying it's not, but I don't know. It doesn't seem super entry level at $15,000. It's, seems like a big investment, and maybe that'll change as Harley pays off some of their tooling. They'll, be able to bring that price down, and maybe as they fully phase out the Sportster, if that's what they're going to do in America, maybe that price will come down. But it seems a little steep at this point as a replacement for the Sportster. So, description: Sportster S is the first chapter of a whole new book of the Sportster saga. So they are saying it's a whole new book. A legacy born in 1957 that outperformed the competition is now rebuilt to blow away the standards of history. Standards of today, I'm sorry. So, okay, they're kind of admitting it didn't change almost, since 57. That's not true, right? There have been some changes, but largely stayed the same. Stretched riding position, forward foot controls, low seat height, rider safety enhancements available. So you have to pay extra for the DRS or whatever they're going to call it. So this has, the Revolution Max 1250T. So they changed it for, I believe it's a torque kind of setup and tune, which is a little strange to me because the bike isn't that heavy, and with that much power and torque, I'm not sure they needed to do that, but that's an interesting choice. So they've presumably cut the power down. They've got the high mount exhaust, inspired by flat track racing. There you go. Classic meets modern, 4-inch round display. Okay, that's kind of cool, I guess. It's got Bluetooth now, so it can do turn-by-turn navigation with their app. So that's a nice feature. I think people are still going to end up mounting their phone on the bars, but maybe this will be convenient if you just want to hop on the bike and hit navigation or see some settings without actually having to mount your phone every time. So it's got ride modes now. That's with the extra power. That probably makes a lot of sense, right? And that's kind of a standard feature now. So sport, road, and rain. I'm not sure what. I guess sport is sportier and road is a little more reserved, and then rain obviously is probably like a torque cut, so it doesn't spin the tire. Dual purpose powertrain. The Revolution Max 1250T is a structural component of the motorcycle chassis, eliminating a traditional frame, which significantly reduces overall weight. Okay, so the engine's a stressed member, so that should help with weight and handling. That's nice to see. That also probably is why everything's more closed up, right? So I'm criticizing them for that, but if you have to tie into the engine for your structure, right, you don't want to then have to build off of the engine for your frame, for the other parts of the subframe and stuff, just to make some gaps. So that makes some sense. That's probably why it's, why I'm saying that it feels more closed and less kind of custom and less room. So Taz HD here says, I think a lot of the newer generations will like it. It's a good step in coming into the new age of motorcycles. I think that's true, and I think that, I am comparing it to the Triumph lines that are meant to look vintage and Triumph lines that are meant to harken back to classics, and I'm saying it looks less classic. You're right, completely right. It's probably my bias more than anything else. Okay. So 94 foot-pounds of torque, 121 horsepower. Harley's actually telling us a horsepower rating. That's surprising. It's 400 and running order is 502 pounds. So it's not light, but it's not, excessively heavy. It's kind of a little heavier than some people are gonna want, right? People would like it in the 400 to 450 pound range. Uh, Rider safety enhancements, ABS and traction control. Okay. LED lighting, adjustable performance suspension, so it does have like the inverted front fork, and it has cruise control. That's nice. I don't think that feature has ever been available on a Sportster, so definitely some nice tech upgrades. And then I don't think we need to go through all the dimensions, but there it is. So that's the Sportster S. I think, you know, Harley's gonna sell as many of these as they can for a while, and we'll see if there are any other models that are based on the Revolution Max for the street that come out, and you know, maybe that will change things. But otherwise, yeah, there's our look at the Sportster S. Okay, so let's head over to the next category now. So cruiser. Okay, so this feels a little more familiar for Harley territory. So they've just thrown everything in together now, as far as the Milwaukee 8 Softails and the Sportsters. So start here with the Iron 883. We'll probably get through these a little faster. They're not really anything new, otherwise, you know, except for probably some color changes or like minor little points. So black denim. It's very classic, very tough, just all blacked out. But you can see what I'm saying here about the light, right? You can see light all around there, all up through here, through the whole way around the frame, all in front here. So it's definitely a different look, right? So looks a lot smaller. It's probably not smaller, it just feels smaller because you don't have the water jackets and everything around the engine. You don't have the double overhead cams. You got a push rod engine, so it just feels different, right? Gunship gray, nice, a gloss gray, and then that white sand pearl. I think that looks really good on the Sportster. It's not, you know, since this is all blacked out with a little chrome and silver, you know, brushed aluminum accents, I think that looks really good. The white sand pearl, I much prefer that on this to the Sportster S. So let's see, is there anything new? So blacked out, stripped down with legendary profile. Yep, forward riding, mid mount, low seat height, all pretty standard stuff. And then yeah, standard Sportster. It's only got 54 foot-pounds of torque, so that's down a lot. So you can definitely tell the Sportster S is definitely a higher performance machine. So there we go. It's good old Iron 883 made it to 2022. It's good to see. Now we've got the 48. Now the Iron 1200 didn't make it through, so I guess the 48 is the only way you'll get a 1200 out of the factory. So this is, you know, like I said, see the fatter tires. It's just the more like old school look. You've got a little more shiny chrome and it's less blacked out, less, you know, bare basics, bare bones. What have we got here? Vivid black, so you can get a gloss black option. Looks nice. The tank, a little gloss black tank, I feel like kind of maybe gets a little lost. I'm not sure about the seat either, but and then what was that one? Sorry. The reef blue, okay, and the white sand pearl. That's interesting. So only the tank is white sand pearl. The fenders are still black. So that is interesting. I've never been a fan on the 48 of this section of the tank here, being exposed, and if it, you know, if that matched the frame color, I think I'd notice it less. But it just kind of stands out. Not really a fan of it personally. Heavy hitting fat tire style with an iconic peanut tank and bulldog stance. So this has the forward controls, and a more forward riding position, so a little lower bars and everything. So That's cool. It made it through. Same old thing. Same old 48. And this one, they don't even... Oh, performance. Here we go. Let's see what have we got for torque. 73 foot-pounds. So that's a big step up, right? Almost 25% more than the 883. So, you know, that's nice. If you like that style more, get that, and you'll get a bit of extra performance, and there you go. Classic Sportster again. So Taz HD says, I like the tank badge. I think that was in reference to the 883. I agree. It's clean. I mean, I like the 48 too. So I don't think we'll go through every Softail here, but let's look at the standard and the Street Bob. I mostly want to compare the price on these to the Sportster S, and, you know, look at that. So here's your Softail standard. So this is the, I believe, cheapest possible Milwaukee 8 Softail you can get. It has does it have the 114 now, or is it still... No, it's still the 107. Okay, so this is, I think, one of the few bikes left with the 107 still for 2022. Very stripped down. You can see it's available in one color, vivid black. You know, no inverted front ends, no fancy anything. It's very stripped down, very just basic, right? But, you know, if you were going to do a lot of customization but wanted to start with a new bike, this would probably be a good place to start. You know, it's also not... It doesn't have the... I think they're like gaiters or the little bellows here on the forks. So that's a little bit of a cleaner look if that's what you're going for. It's got some higher bars already. You could throw some bags on it and change the seat maybe and be ready to go, right? So cheap, bare basics, and if you look at that, it's basically 14 grand. $14,000 versus 15,000 for the Sportster S. So I would say, you know, you could put $1,000 of upgrades into this, and, you know, it's still not going to perform as well as the Sportster S, but it is, you know, just a different bike, right? You want that air-cooled feel, you want the, you know, push rod, super lumpy, torquey motor. This is more where you want to be, right? So that's an interesting other choice. Let's check the performance and just see. So this has 110 foot-pounds of torque. So this is your torque monster, right? It's not going to have that top end, but, you know, it's got that low end grunt if that's what you're looking for. You got the Milwaukee 8 engine. These things are, as far as I can tell, very, you know, very, maybe not bulletproof, but very strong engines. You can do a lot with them without doing a full tear down and bottom end work, and, you know, there's a lot of performance out there too. You can change cams, big bore kits, all this stuff, right? So that's like your blank canvas, right? Just, I want to start, I want to build my own thing. That's your bike. So now your other option here is the Street Bob. So this is $1,500 more. So that's like your blank canvas, right? Just, I want to start, I want to build my own thing. So what does your $1,500 get you? So let's look at the Vivid Black just to see. Okay, so you've got more graphics on here. You've got the 114, Milwaukee 8 114. Everything's blacked out, right? So I think Harley's really charging for that too at this point, because I think the blacked out bikes are probably selling better, especially with younger consumers. Less of just like the chrome everywhere and all that. So this is, you know, a cleaner look in that sense, like more black. You've got a pillion cushion thing. I'm not sure anyone really would want to ride on that. But you know, you could potentially ride two up. You probably have the it looks like you have the rear pegs, so that's probably $150 or something to get those. So you're definitely getting your money's worth, especially in the engine department, because you're going up to the 114 and you're going from 110 foot-pounds of torque to 119. So, you know, about 10, almost 10% more, 8 or 9%. And, you know, you're just getting a different look, I would say. So this is still, you know, there's still a lot you could do with this easily, but it's a little more dialed in. You get more color options here. So the Gauntlet Gray Metallic, that adds basically 500 bucks to the MSRP with tax. So that's pretty cool. A little, a little more subtle. The red, it's a nice classic red with the black logo. I think that fits it pretty well. And then you've got a blue here that's, so you've got your extra details, you've got your bigger engine. It's definitely, it's now $350 more than the Sportster S, which is an interesting price point. But, probably doesn't perform as well, but it's definitely more of a classic Harley, air-cooled, everything like that. Now, what else we got? Fat Bob 114, that looks pretty much the same. Lowrider S makes its way back. I wasn't sure it was going to come back because they didn't announce it earlier on in the releases, but glad to see that's coming back again. It's always a favorite of mine. So you can see this is definitely more on the performance side now of the Softail line, right? So you've got your inverted front end, you've got twin front discs, you've got the 114 again. They've added, oh no, I'm sorry, this is the 117 now. Okay, so that's a big upgrade. You could previously only get the 117 in CVO bikes, so that's cool to see. You've got like a heavy breather intake, a little more aggressive intake style, a little more on the club style. You've got the fairing, the risers on the bars, not fully clubbed out, but more on that side of things. The classic Lowrider S styling. You got your bronze details. And now I'll check the gunship gray. I think the black is the classic color for the Lowrider S, but the gray looks great too. It's a nice alternative if you're not into the all black. Now let's check here what they've changed up the tank now. That's interesting. Okay, so the gauges are no longer on the tank. What have we got going on there? They're not really talking about it, but you can see here it's at least not the classic style of your Speedo and your tack sitting here on the tank. It's hard to tell if it's, I don't see it there, so maybe there is like a single display here, or maybe it's in the bars, but that's an interesting change for 2022. Okay. So let's check the performance here. So this gets you 125 foot-pounds of torque. So that's 6 more than the 114. I think that's kind of the problem with the Milwaukee 8 at some level, is your changes in displacement get so small, right? Instead of going from 883 and adding 300 cubic inches to get to 1200, or like the twin cam days, you had the 96 and the 103, and then like the 110 motor, you have 3 cubic inches, and maybe you've got a little more wild cam, maybe you've got some other little tweaks there, but it's really close between all the engines, right? Like you throw a stage 1 and a good tune on a 114 and you'd be at 117 numbers. So I think that's going to be a hard point for Harley, is like, how do you differentiate your CVO bikes and your other higher end bikes when you have like 2 or 3, 3 cubic inches or 7 cubic inches to do it? It's just not very much on the size of these engines. So now we've got the Lowrider ST. I think we'll loop back to that one because we're going to see more about it, I believe, in the Further Faster event we'll be covering in a minute. Now, this is interesting to me. A blacked out Heritage. That's something new, right? Like, we haven't seen that before. We've just seen the very chromed out, very shiny, very classic looking Heritage, right? And you're really harkening back, to your 50s, 60s, the old style look, right? You've got what looks kind of like a drum brake cover here. It's just meant to look more classic. Now we've got a 114 and it's all blacked out. And that's, it looks tough. It reminds me to some extent of like wartime bikes almost, or pre-war bikes, before you had the chrome everywhere. And that was more of the look. Let's see here. Taz HD says the Lowrider S is what I would get if I were to get another Harley Davidson. I think I agree. Like it kind of hits all the high notes for me for the performance side of it, but it still feels very Harley, right? You've got your inverted front end, you've got now the 117, so the biggest motor. You've got the twin front disc brakes. All that stuff just feels more like it'll be more performance based, and then it just looks really clean, like all black and gold. I like it. So back to the Heritage Classic here. So I think this blacked out look is really nice. I think I think this will open the bike up to a lot more people, a lot more younger riders who, this makes a lot of sense for them. They've got bags already, so you could throw something in there. It's full fendered, so it has that classic element, but then it's not gaudy and chrome like as some people might not like. So here's the chrome. You can see it's a big difference, right? Like all this chrome on the bars, all the way down here, the whole headlight assembly, the exhaust, the engine, and then you flip over to here. Come on, Harley. You can do it. Okay, there we go. So there's the black. The engine's a lot more subtle. The exhaust just has little chrome accents. I think this is, in my opinion, more tasteful for like a stock bike, or for, it's not a chopper, right? It's not a classic bike. So I think this could be really good for getting more people into this style of bike who are just like, I can't buy it and paint everything, but I also don't want all that chrome everywhere. So I really like this. I think this is interesting. I think the only problem with it potentially is the price. And it starts at basically 21,000, and then you add 1625 to the MSRP to black it out. It's still cheaper than doing the work yourself, like certainly way cheaper than having the dealer do it, but it's pricey. So that's a lot of motorcycle, especially for a younger rider, I think, who this seems to be more in line with. But I'll be interested to see if this sticks around and how popular it is. Okay, Taz HD is also pointing out the CVOs have the 117 too. I guess this is the classic Lowrider S problem, right? The Lowrider S came out as a Dyna, and it had the 110 Screaming Eagle motor that was in the CVOs, and it's like, it's tough. It's tough. You're supposed to be getting something special with the CVOs, right? And if everyone can get the same thing, it feels a little less special. Okay, and then the other thing I wanted to point out on the Fat Boy is the wheels, and then I want to check out too the colors, see if they offer a blacked out version now, like they did before. I think that was a special edition from last year. So chrome, this is like pretty classic Fat Boy. You've got the big nasal around here, the heavier looking forks. This looks very Fat Boy, and then you look at the wheels and you go, wait, that's not supposed to have a gap. Why can I see through the wheels? So that's interesting to me, because that was one of the distinctive features of the Fat Boy was you just had that big disc of a wheel. It was just there. There was no looking through it or anything. So these definitely harken back to that style. But I don't know. It seems like I'm not sure why they did that. So let's see here if they have some other color options that are going to have blacked out details. They don't. Okay, so if you want chrome, you're gonna if you don't want chrome, you're gonna have to do it yourself on the Fat Boy. But yeah, well, there it is. I mean, I'm not sure I like the wheels. I'll be interested to see if they go back to the dish style. But maybe some people really like that. I'm not sure. I think we'll see next year if these were a success or not. So I think that brings us to the end of the cruiser category. So we'll have to go now to the next category. Grand American Touring. So I guess that's what they're calling their touring bikes now. So we've got the Electric Glide Standard coming back. So that's I think the big thing there, right, if we were looking at it as price point, 19,429, so it's cheaper than a Heritage. You're getting your bags, you're getting your Batwing fairing, you've got a 107, so there you go. Now let's look at the Road King here. So that's I think the big thing there, right, if we were looking at it as price point, 19,429, so it's cheaper than a Heritage. You're getting your bags, you're getting your Batwing fairing. Okay, so let's check out our colors quickly. So we got the Vivid Black, that looks pretty standard. Midnight Crimson, it's a nice deep red. And then the Gray Metallic Vivid Black, that's interesting. It's got a nice little pinstripe detail, it looks like, running down there. Contrasting tank, and then everything else. The fenders, gray. That's an interesting new one. I'm not sure it's my favorite, but it's a different look, and that's always good, right? Is having some different looks for everyone. You can have a bike that suits you. Still with the 107, so it's kind of weird, these big touring bikes with the 107, and then you're getting the 117 in the Lowrider S. So they're really, unless you want it for the features, I guess they really want you to buy the specials. So Road Glide. Kind of weird, these big touring bikes with the 107, and then you're getting the 117 in the Lowrider S. So they're really, unless you want it for the features, I guess they really want you to buy. So we've got Vivid Black, Reef Blue, and White Sand Pearl. I don't know if that's gloss or matte. I guess maybe it's a pearl. I don't know. It's hard to tell. That's an interesting color. Like, I kind of like it on there. What's still got the 107 again. Nothing really special that I can see. 111 foot-pounds of torque. So, yeah. You've got the LED headlamp. I think that came out last year, but it's the lower end one. It's not the special. Don't think we'll. Oh, that's recently viewed. Okay. Now there's a Road Glide ST. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped a row at least. Oh, I skipped a lot. Street Glide, let's not look at that. It's just going to be the same. We'll check out the Road King special here. See if they're putting the 114 or the 117 in. Now, there's a Road Glide ST. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped a row. Okay, let's see. So, same colors. We've kind of seen these on different ones. Midnight Crimson. Looks pretty sharp. The black, of course. Everything's blacked out on the special. The longer bags. All standard stuff. Let's see. Oh, so it's got the 114 there. And yeah, so nothing really new or special there, as far as I can tell. The Harley site is not very speedy. Okay, Road Glide special. We'll check this one, but I'm presuming it's going to be the same kind of thing of, pretty much unchanged from last year. Road Glide special, the 114. I think they came with that same open element, almost the, stage 1 style air cleaner. You've got your black finishes and your chrome for all your accents, so it's kind of the same thing. I don't think so. They're saying new two-tone paint schemes. You know what that means? New colorways. So kind of the same thing, maybe trying to spice it up with some of the two-tone paint jobs, but you know, nothing new there really. Okay, so I think we'll skip the Street Glide. I'm sure it's just kind of the same thing. Now, Road Glide Limited. Is this new for 2022? I think it might be. So this comes with the 114. You've got your tour pack, your fixed fairing, your side guards here. Does this have the twin-cooled engine? Let's see. Milwaukee 8 and Sharknose fairing. So it's got the side pods, but I'm not seeing it say anything about the twin cooling. The twin cooling is where they have like those water passages around the exhaust valves. And then they have the little radiators on the side for that. So it's supposed to help. I would guess especially in lower speed stuff. Let's see, engine. Oh, okay, it is twin cooled. They just didn't talk about it up there. Okay, so that's an interesting change, right? So if you got this, and it actually comes all blacked out too, which is you know, not very common for the big touring bikes with the tour packs and everything. So if you got a kit to make the tour pack removable, you could get a twin cooled bike and have it look like a Road Glide. I don't know, somewhere between a Special and Limited. It doesn't have the long bags and stuff, but you've got the 114 blacked out. It's an interesting bike. 28,000. It's, you know, kind of in line with all the other touring stuff. So I think that's really interesting. I'd be tempted to get that over a regular Road Glide or Road Glide Special. I kind of like it. Okay, now let's keep going here. Ultra Limited, that looks, you know, similar. It's got blacked out, but we know what, I think those are pretty much unchanged. Now I'm interested here, like the Road Glide and Street Glide ST. This is something new for this year. So I believe these are inspired by like the bagger racing, right? The King of the Baggers. That's what's inspiring these. So this gets you up to the 117 now. You've got the high bags. It looks like a little taller in the back than normal. Very like profiled seat. I like the gold accents on everything. That's pretty cool. So you've got Vivid Black and Gunship Gray. Oh, the Vivid Black. That Lowrider S look. So it looks like they're, you know, they're broadening that out right across lines. That's probably selling well in high demand. So do this bike, give it a little more performance features, the big engine, but don't have the big low bags that can drag. It's pretty cool. 30,000. Let's see what they say. The 117. Yep. West Coast styling, blacked out. Sport touring profile. Standard bag height for trim look and more room to lean. Okay. And the Batwing fairing. That makes sense. Standard, so it's got ABS, infotainment, emulsion technology, rear shocks. I like how emulsion technology is a feature. Normally it's like not a feature. So they've got valving in the suspension. I'm not sure if that's different, but okay. Optional, you can get cornering electronically linked brakes. I'm not sure people will like linked brakes, but okay. ABS, cornering ABS, cornering traction control with modes, drag, torque, slip control, vehicle hold control. So tire pressure monitoring. So that's cool. It's expensive, but you know, it brings that iconic Lowrider S style to a bagger, so that's really cool. Now, what do we have left in touring here? So now we get into the CVOs. So those, I think, used to have their own category, but now they've just thrown them in here. Let's look at the CVO Road Glide and see what we've got. Your fixed fairing, you can see the paint is just beautiful. I love the paint on the CVOs this year, especially this flame look. Oh, it's that's impressive to me for a stock paint job. Like all flamed out with the fades. That's beautiful. The orange, classic Harley orange, all the pinstriping details. Blue steel. So this is a more understated look. No, this windshield here looks new. It's very low profile, with a little vent and stuff. That's interesting. Yeah, so I think this basically gets you up to the 117. Yeah, all the flashy colors and everything. Style, and of course you got your long bag, speakers in the bag, standard CVO stuff, but that's pretty cool. But then the price, $42,000. The fender looks weird in this color. I feel like. Let's see. Yeah, see, that looks pretty good. I'm not sure about the whole back fender area and the other colors, but I would probably go with the green with flames. That's just iconic. Yeah, see, that looks pretty good. I'm not sure about the whole back fender area and the other colors, but... And then we've got a Road Glide Limited, another CVO. Okay, so let's see what else we have here. I think it may just be trikes now. We'll take a quick look at that, but oh no, I'm sorry. Adventure Touring is next. So that's the differentiation from Grand American Touring. So we've got the Pan America 1250, 17,000 and or 17.3, and the Pan America 1250 Special at 20. So let's check out the Special. I know this one's got all the fancy suspension, all that. So we got the Pan America 1250, 17,000. Okay, so Revolution Max engine. We're getting familiar with that now. We saw it on the Sportster S. It looks like a adventure touring bike, adventure bike. Definitely Harley inspired here. You can see a little bit of the shark nose fairing coming through there. The radiator, see, even on this one, the radiator looks a little more like it fits, right? It kind of is between the bars. It fits right in there. You've got you've got a skid plate or an engine plate, but it looks like the regulator is hanging through it. As far as I can tell, that might not be ideal. But let's get down to the features here. The Pan America 1250 Special motorcycle is our premier two-wheel multi-tool, built to endure, designed to explore, and engineered for adventure. Okay. So let's take a look at the exclusive features. We're calling it Special for good reason, designed to compete with the top-of-the-line ADV bikes in the segment. The 1250 Special is loaded with premium features, and I've heard, all the reviews say it does really, compare well with other ADV bikes. It's, similar weight, similar power, and, some of the best features in the class. So, semi-active front and rear suspension with vehicle load control. So that's nice. So you can load it up with a bunch of stuff, and it's going to presumably counteract for that and not make you just bottom out and have poor suspension travel. Tire pressure monitoring system, that seems good for off-roading especially, but also just covering a lot of miles, right? You're not worried your tires are going to go flat, and on a motorcycle that's even more dangerous. Center stand, so this is good, I believe, for fixing flats, doing maintenance, on the road, on the trail. Multi-position rear brake pedal. Not sure what the feature of that is. Maybe it's just if you're standing up versus sitting down. Brush guard, aluminum skid plate, Daymaker signature adaptive headlamp. Okay. Heated hand grips. That's nice to have standard. Steering damper. That's good if you have a lot of stuff, especially if it's high up, I would think, and riding in windy conditions, other less than ideal conditions. Factory installed option adaptive ride height. Factory installed option tubeless laced wheels. Okay, so adaptive ride height I've heard is a big feature because these ADV bikes are really tall, and if you're not the tallest person, you know, if you can't put your feet down, that's going to be really bad, especially if you're off-road or something. You have less traction, and I think we've all had a foot just kind of slip out, you know, from us. So we'll see there. Okay. Looks like my camera may have bit the dust. You guys don't need to see me anyway. Okay. So all new Revolution Max 1250 engine. So this is, you know, going through that. It's once again a stressed member of the frame. Liquid cooled. Double overhead cam, variable valve timing. So this is a lot of features, especially for Harley. Now, so revolutionary suspension, adaptive ride height makes its debut on the Pan America 1250 Special. This factory installed option unlocks confidence you can feel by lowering seat height when stopped and by maintaining a constant optimum suspension sag at speed by adjusting preload while continuously sensing weight input. So yeah, that's great. You can, you know, park, take all your gear off, and it'll counteract for that. You can throw a bunch of gear on it, ride one up, two up, I would assume. That's really cool. 7.48 inches of travel on the balance-free forks. Showa balance-free forks. I don't know what balance-free means. And a balance-free rear BFRC balance-free rear cushion light. Coil-over rear shock with electronic preload control and semi-active damping. The rear suspension incorporates a linkage system connecting the shock, swing arm, and frame, which provides a progressive feel throughout the stroke. So that's a good thing. 7.48 inches of travel. That's a lot. So it seems like they really, you know, they didn't try and just raid the parts bin. They actually did this right. Different by design. They've basically made their own. You know, they weren't trying to adapt something else. They said we're going to build an adventure bike, and they did. All-terrain long hauler, so it's designed to go long distances like an adventure tour is supposed to be. We're kind of getting repetitive here. Now they claim it's off-road ready, aluminum skid plates, brush guards, steering damper, no tools needed, adjusted brake pedal which can switch between two positions to improve control and comfort when the rider's standing. Okay, so it is for standing. That's seems like a good feature, I guess. So it has an off-road mode. It's got a nice big display, Bluetooth, all that good stuff. It is a touchscreen. Okay. I'm not sure how I feel about touchscreens. If you can access all the features through the controls, I think that's great. But if you're riding, trying to poke at a screen it's really tough. And I don't know why. Even in a car, it's not good. But people want to be able to say touchscreen and make it feel like a, they want to make it feel like a phone because people are familiar with that, but not a big fan there. So you can get a spoked wheel. I believe these are just better for not just cracking off-road. If you get a flat and hit something, it'll deform. You can throw a tube in it and get to where you're going or do what you need to do. Oh, adaptive lighting. I was interested to see what this is. Utilizing the ABS IMU to determine the lean angle of the motorcycle, the system automatically projects additional light into corners to illuminate areas of the road that may be unlit by an LED headlamp without this tech. So that's a nice feature because LEDs get, some deserved bad press for the fact that they often have these just like razor sharp cutoffs and it's very directed, just too directed. I'm not. That might not be ideal if you're in a very dark area that you're not familiar with, and so the adaptive lamps illuminate in sequence based on motorcycle lean angle at 8, 15, and 23 degrees. So they just have extra LEDs they turn on. Rather than just switching on and off, the current to the adaptive elements ramps up gradually, so it's progressive and appears seamless. Okay, they don't just turn them on and off, they dim them and brighten them, but it's not a, it's not something that's mechanical, so it's, should be more reliable. They'd give us, go to performance here, 94 foot-pounds of torque and 150 horsepower. So that's respectable, and this 150 horsepower, from what I understand, is just, kind of standard across the board. That's, better than a lot of the motorcycles in the class. So, let me take a quick look at the chat here. Okay. So Taz HD says, I hope ST doesn't stand for sport touring. If that's the case, they are way behind in that genre. LOL. Yeah, maybe that's why they abbreviated it. So 7th Sentinel said, I believe it's considered a sport touring bike, but like so many other companies are doing a better job at a cheaper rate with more features. But for those looking for a sport touring cruiser, I think this is one of the better options. He said, though, I don't know, though, I'm newer to the cruiser market. Taz HD said, I think they are pretty much the only option for cruiser sport touring, if you want to call it that. Uh-oh, we had a message retracted. Hopefully that wasn't YouTube. He said, as stock anyways. And then we're looking for another cruiser sport touring bike. So we'll check back in and see if they find any. So, with that said, now we're going to take a quick look at the trikes, and then we'll get into the further faster event reaction. We're looking for another cruiser sport touring bike. So we'll check back in and see if they find any. Okay, so trikes. So, with that said, now we're going to take a quick look at the trikes, and then we'll get into the further faster event reaction. Okay, so trikes, we have the Freewheeler Tri-Glide Ultra and the CVO Tri-Glide. Let's take a look at the CVO at 50 grand, just to see what it has. Let's gawk at some paint. Oh, there's one color, Dante's Red Fade. So, it's that same kind of flamed look. I really like it. I think it's very bold for the factory. And, just a good looking flame job. All things considered. And so, yeah, you're 117. It's a trike. We kind of knew that. So, that pretty much gets us through all the 2022 models. We skipped a few, but I think we picked up on the interesting changes for the year. And now, let's get into the further faster event. Let me get my headphones on here. Through all the 2022 models, we skipped a few, but I think we picked up on the interesting changes for the year. And now, let's get into... Well, now I can hear myself. This is concerning. I hope there hasn't been an echo the whole time. And I hope that when I play this, you guys can hear it. Okay. Did that fix the playback issue? Now I can hear myself. No. That has not fixed it. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. There it is. Okay, we fixed that. Hopefully you guys couldn't really hear that. If you could, I'm sorry. Let's see if the camera has decided to pick up. Nope, it's still frozen on that frame. That's great. So, let's then just continue anyway. Get ready here. Okay. So, let me know if you guys can hear this. This is the further
our kickstands up on the dawn of a new day. Amidst a fog of uncertainty, what is truly meaningful has become vividly clear. Freedom, found on the open road. Moments of solitude, found on roads less traveled.
So far, they seem to be here, like they're kind of going through everything, right? They're saying, look, back here we had our, you know, here, I'll put it on full screen for everyone. And oh, let's get it off of potato mode. There we go, 1080p, that's better. So they're going, you know, looking at the history. They've got the history book, or like the picture book or photo album, I guess. You've got some older bikers, and then, you know,
Moments
some
of
newer
solitude
riders here.
found on roads less traveled. Bonds forged from steel and the turn of a wrench. We'll stop at nothing in pursuit of it.
Let me skip back here. I missed a little bit. Let's catch up on some chats here. Seventh Sentinel says, one thing I really like with the 22 Lowrider S, the speedo tack placement is so much safer. He said, I have a 2020 Lowrider S, and he says that was low and harder to look at and keep your eye on the road. And then he said audio is good. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was always iconic, right? So that's the hard part, where you're trying to balance that, right? So I almost feel like they should have kept the speedo and tack on the tank and then added a little heads-up display or something. But yeah, it definitely seems like if it's on the bar or in the fairing there, it's a lot safer, a lot easier to just glance down rather than having to like tilt your whole head and look, especially with the helmet and everything on. So that's a good point. Yeah, I'll want to see that in person too and see what it actually looks like. Okay, let's I'm gonna jump back a little bit here. I lost concentration for a sec.
On the open road. Moments of solitude found on roads less traveled. Bonds forged from steel and the turn of a wrench. We'll stop at nothing in pursuit of it. Memories that last a lifetime. And moments that take our breath away. There's no limit to how far we'll go, or where our adventures will take us.
So it seems like they're really trying to hit the, hit all the notes, right? They want their classic builders, they want the people restoring their bikes, they want people, new riders, they want everything, customizers. Let's take a moment though, look at that gold leaf with the spinning, I think it's like spun metal, where they take the little tool and spin it. That's beautiful.
Or where our adventures will take us. For it's in the pursuit that we find freedom. And through the journey, we come alive. No matter from where we've come or where we've been. We are united in our pursuit. United, we ride.
Okay, so that was the we're Harley, we're not trying to alienate everyone, we're trying to just include everyone. We want the touring bike guys, we want the classic Harley guys, we want the adventure riders. Okay, I mean, they're trying to walk the line that may be impossible to walk, but they're trying to just pull in all these different factions because they need all the people buying the $40,000-$50,000 touring bikes and CVOs and stuff, right? But they still need to pull in the newer riders, the adventure riders, and all that. So, I mean, they're trying.
Good morning. Welcome to the Harley Davidson Museum in Milwaukee, and welcome to the first model launch of 2022. As you all know, at Harley Davidson we stand for the timeless pursuit of...
Okay, so this must be the new CEO who came in. This looks like it may have been shot at that museum at the top of, I think it's like the Alps or something, that burned down. I wonder if it's it must be the rebuilt version. That's an amazing story we should cover, but it'll be interesting to see the direction he takes Harley, and people seem pretty happy so far, so let's see what he does from here on out.
Adventure and freedom for the soul. And today our mission has never felt more relevant. Last year, my team and I took advantage of every chance we could to get out and ride. Around the world, we found people from all walks of life united by an enthusiasm for adventure and the unique sense of freedom that comes with riding on and off the open road. In these unprecedented times, we were inspired by you, our passionate community. It is your passion that fuels Harley Davidson and pushes us to continue leading our industry through innovation and evolution, while staying true to who we are and what we believe in. Before we look at what 2022 has in store, I'd like to take a brief look back to some of last year's highlights. 2021 was truly a landmark year for innovation at the Motor Company. In launching the all-new Revolution Max powertrain, we introduced an entirely new model family with Pan America and a revolutionary new take on the Sportster with the introduction of the Sportster S. The Pan America quickly became the #1 selling adventure touring bike in North America and has immediately established itself as a top contender in this category all around the world. The instant excitement and positivity we saw from the media and riders alike is a true testament to Harley Davidson's commitment to innovation and excellence. The stories coming back from our Pan America customers seeking out adventure amongst the roads less traveled are truly remarkable. From our home in Milwaukee all the way to the Himalayas and beyond. We are proud of the awards that the Pan America has won in 2021, including both Motorcycle of the Year and Best Adventure Motorcycle from Motorcycle.com and Best Adventure Bike from Cycle World, to name but a few. But it doesn't stop there. The Pan America is ready to continue its winning streak into 2022 with a new selection of colorways, accessories, and updates for the category.
New colorways! We've got new colorways, guys. It's going to continue its innovation into the next year with new colors. Oh, so exciting.
Defining award-winning Pan America. And we can't wait to see where you'll all go this year. With the introduction of the Sportster S, we put the sport back into Sportster with this entirely new model that sets the stage for the future of the Sportster family. The distinctive styling, intoxicating power of the RevMax engine, and the technology innovations throughout have been celebrated by media and motorcycle fans around the world.
The sound was really interesting there. So if we go back just a little bit.
Wait to see where you'll all go this year. With the introduction of the Sportster S, we put the sport back into Sportster with this entirely new model that sets the stage for the future of the Sportster family. The distinctive styling, intoxicating power of the RevMax engine, and the technology innovations throughout have been celebrated by media and motorcycle fans around the world. I can tell you that we're just getting started with the next generation of Sportster, and I look forward to sharing more with you soon. We also launched the first of our Icons collection, the
What do you guys think here of the Electric Glide Revival?
Electric Glide Revival, which was met with rave reviews.
I don't know about rave reviews. Well, I guess I'm sure there was a rave review. I thought I was going to be more negative on it, but it's not that bad, but I also don't think I'd own one. But I would own, you know, a classic Electric Glide. So yeah, I don't know. I'm mixed on it. I'm interested to see what you guys think. Yeah, Seven Sentinel says, yay, more colors.
Modern interpretation of a Harley Davidson classic, this motorcycle celebrates the timeless design Harley Davidson fans have known and loved throughout our history. At Sturgis, we also introduced the Arctic Blast Street Glide Special.
Oh, a limited edition Street Glide Special? That's interesting.
Throughout our history. At Sturgis,
I mean, it looks like custom paint.
we also introduced the Arctic Blast Street.
that seems a little underwhelming for a limited edition. 1 out of 500. It's some custom paint. I don't know. You could probably get someone to do custom paint so it would be 1 of 1. But, maybe if you really like it.
Street Glide Special. Limited to just 500 units, this is a stunning example of the kind of craftsmanship and attention to detail one can only expect from Harley Davidson, by both paying respect to our heritage while also looking to the future. 2021 was certainly an exciting year of innovation for our motorcycle products, but we are also proud to have launched HD1 Marketplace on HarleyDavidson.com, the online home to shop for pre-owned Harley Davidsons. Since launching, HD1 Marketplace has been an instant success, carrying the largest inventory of certified pre-owned and used Harley Davidson motorcycles in the United States. And lastly, one of my personal highlights of the year was watching Kyle Wyman win the King of the Baggers series, another example of Harley Davidson leading the industry and dominating in Grand American touring and leading the way with performance baggers. Touring is at the very core of our business and of our heritage. We do it better than anyone else. Today we're excited to showcase that innovation and excellence that makes Harley Davidson the best and most desirable motorcycle brand in the world. So now, let's focus on what we have to look forward to in the year ahead. The momentum continues, and today we're excited to share the latest in our cruiser and touring segments along with the 22 CVO lineup and some exciting additions to our apparel and accessory offerings. Let's begin with a celebration of the King of the Baggers Championship winning season.
So, we're still in the victory lap portion of this, it looks like. Look at all this stuff I've done. I'm a good CEO. You shouldn't be mad at me. Make our stock price go up, please. Look at all this good stuff. But yeah, it's good that they do have stuff to celebrate. I think as Seven Sentinel says, the Electric Glide icon, it looks cool, but to be honest, I wouldn't own one. And then I think talking about the custom Arctic Blast, he says it doesn't really fit the riding I do, plus not a lot going on, and that's a big price bump for the paint. Yeah, it's like a lot of money for the paint, and there are painters who can do some beautiful paint jobs too, probably for not much more, and have something fully custom. But maybe it'll appeal to people who are getting that bike anyway and just want something a little more special. I don't know. So, King of the Baggers time. Let's see what they have to say about that.
Nobody gets that number one unless they earn it.
Is it about that Harley Davidson horsepower? Side by side, they go into turn number 1.
And it represents a national champion. And we have a national champion again at Harley Davidson running the Screaming Eagle Road.
I hope this music isn't copyrighted, because I'm going to get a copyright strike for it. Yay.
Glide, and that is Kyle Wyman.
Harley Davidson's Screaming Eagle team must have found something from qualifying to now. Sliding that Harley Davidson sideways. Oh my goodness.
You're just pushing those things past the absolute limit.
On the Harley Davidson Road Glide. If that looks familiar to you, it's a heavily modified Harley Davidson deep in this factory program.
King of the Bagger started about a year and a half ago.
Run through Moto America, which is the premier motorcycle racing organization in the United States.
Taking your production touring models that you see on the streets every day and seeing what we can really get out of them on the racetrack.
Seeing a bagger go around the corner like that and see what the Wyman brothers are doing with them, that's inspiring, that's cool, and that gets you fired up about not just the brand, but what you can do in your garage now with your bike.
The fact that we're doing this as a factory effort, we're bringing it in-house at Harley Davidson to develop a race bike, is really exciting because it gives you a lot of different opportunities. It allows you to really tie back the experience to what the production bikes can have.
We got into lightweighting, we got into raising suspension and lean angle. We started uncovering everything that we could do to truly make a performance bagger race bike. After hours, weekends, a lot of hours, blood, sweat, and tears.
Here at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta, our first race this season.
We went into that with a lot of testing that we'd done leading up to it, but it was on a very short, compressed time schedule.
Kyle Wyman's starting to spin up the rear of that Dunlop.
The wind was so visible and so right there in front of us.
Testing and racing are two different things. There's a whole nother level. We weren't sure what was going to happen, and we fell short.
Now we know where we need to be for the next race. The next race was Road America.
We had one final test session. Kyle gets off the bike. He smiles at the team, says, "This is a proper f***ing race bike."
The speed that these guys are going around this track is pretty impressive for the units that they're on. Kyle Wyman that last time by 27.7. I think that's the fastest lap we have seen all weekend.
Kyle Wyman takes victory here at Road America.
So while we watch this, everyone in the chat, let me know what you guys think, and in comments too on the replay. Let me know what feature or upgrade they should be bringing from the King of the Baggers bikes into the production bikes. So we've kind of seen a bike that looks like that. But, you know, what performance feature or what, you know, do you want carbon fiber bags, or do you want, you know, a performance engine like a Stage 2 from the factory? What do you guys want to see on the production bikes from King of the Baggers?
Just the highest of the high. In Kyle's Superbike race, he had a simple low side fall and broke his elbow.
This is it. Third and final race. It's the end of the season.
We wanted to win, but he needed to finish in the top 6 to clinch the championships.
Everyone had poured their heart and soul into their work. Everyone on this team is a motor company employee, and we wanted to do this to show what we know we have, which is the best motorcycle in the world in the Harley Davidson Road Glide.
Heroic efforts.
Hashtag hurting for certain. There's no doubt. I mean, he's going out there to win this championship when otherwise he would not, should not be out there.
He was here to win, broken elbow or not. Titanium plate and 6 screws holding it together 3 weeks after surgery. Nothing was going to get in his way.
The checkered flag awaits.
3 weeks? It's normally 6 weeks to get a cast off. That is insane. Oh, that's some determination right there.
And Kyle Wyman will win the race here and be your national champion. What a way to do it.
Harley Davidson's history of racing goes back over 100 years, and it's crossed all sorts of disciplines everywhere. And this is just yet another where Harley decides, hey, we're going to go do this. And when we decide we're going to do it, we're going to win.
Okay, so now that we're getting into the factory stuff, let's see what people had to say about what they wanted to see from the factory. So, once again, 7 Sentinel here, holding down the fort, helping us out. Thank you. Thanks for watching. He says, at least Stage 1 from factory, carbon quick release bags and LEDs. I think the carbon fiber quick release bags is really interesting because, you know, those could come and just be popped on even at the dealer potentially, right? So that could be really cool, and you know, who doesn't love some carbon fiber? And if it has Harley quality and everything, but you know, you're paying that premium, maybe some King of the Baggers badging, factory race bike, or some sort of extra branding, right? They could throw on there and, you know, make some extra money, but also people would get some lighter bags and they'd look awesome. He also says LEDs. So that's an interesting point, right? I don't think the bikes still, they don't have LED indicators and tail lights and that kind of stuff. And it's like, that seems like something that could be really easy. And why haven't they done it almost? He also says automatic adjustable suspension with some aftermarket German suspension options for the specials. Yeah, so I can't remember the brand name off the top of my head, but it basically, as the shock actuates, based on the position it returns to and stays at, it pumps itself up or it drops down to deal with weight. So going from 1 uprighting to 2 uprighting, adding a bunch of luggage and load in your bags, it could counteract that. He also said carbon fiber fairings. All good ideas, and I think, you know, those bikes I would feel better about saying, yeah, you know, you're paying a couple grand, $3 extra, but you're actually getting something for it, and I think that's stuff that people would actually like to to have on their cruisers, and especially baggers. So good ideas. So now looks like we're getting into the new models inspired by performance of the baggers. So let's see what we got. So far we've seen them shooting in a straight line. Are we going to see them go through some curves and use that extra ground clearance and stuff they're touting? Let's see here. They almost got to a curve there and then they cut. That's a little weird. I feel like the big advantage there, like one of the big things, is the power. So I can see the straight line performance, but also the turning, like the lean angle, right? It's supposed to be a better lean angle. So why aren't you guys showing that? Go through some twisty sections. It looked like they were on PCH here in California. So why, you know, there are some twisty sections of that, and they could have got some good shots, but it's weird.
The launch of the Street Glide and Road Glide ST models is that first step for us into that performance-leading Grand American Touring product line. Designed for weight, designed for power, designed for performance. Let's get rid of the two-up seat. Let's make it fast and more nimble, have better lean angle.
There's a big appetite for people who just...
Okay, that's good to see. So they just hadn't got there. We were at the iconic, beautiful riding through the coastline portion. Okay, cool. And they're also saying this is the first of a line, so that's interesting, right? So they're seeing this as probably trying to capitalize not only on performance baggers but king of the baggers. So that's good to see, and I'm excited to see if they have more stuff. Let's see.
Want to take their bike, make it cool, make it different, and then just go rip on it. They're not just riding out on the street with their baggers. They're making them a performance machine. They're raising them up. They're giving them more power.
It's this cool new sort of, you know, evolution that creates a new form factor for the bagger, which is really exciting.
We're bringing the 117 powertrain with a heavy breather, and how it's tuned with the exhaust makes it just an exceptional performance bagger.
For the first time, you have that CVO level powertrain available in a non-CVO product. It's Milwaukee.
Is this the first time? I seem to remember the Lowrider S, the Dyna Lowrider S, the 110, but okay.
Milwaukee 8 117, so it's, you know, everything that the Milwaukee 8 is known and loved for, plus you get the biggest version of it from the factory.
If you take a look at the font that's used with the drop H on the tank on our ST models, that is a direct lineage back to our race bikes of the late 19-teens and 20s. That logo also you might recognize from our 77 Lowrider.
That's a cool little detail.
It's another one of those cases where you have something that's new and fresh, but yet familiar and almost subliminal.
Attitude is an important part of the ST models as well, and that's why you see the more subdued colorways. Lowrider S was a key piece of that DNA, and that's why you see bronze wheels and bronze accents on the powertrain.
Performance baggers really need to be able to do it all, from the racetrack to the sweeping canyons and everywhere in between. The ST models are truly a blank canvas for performance parts and amplifying the ride. What we're offering is a performance bagger trim kit. I also think of it kind of as an a la carte listing of products that really take a performance bagger to the next level. So you think, all right, it comes with a 117 from the factory. I want more, add a 131 stage 4 kit. Then tagging on a high flow exhaust system that were designed in parallel with one another, and then saying, all right, that's a ton of power to the ground, right? How do you harness it? That's where the Olin suspension comes in.
The Olin shocks.
Wow, okay. So that's something I missed when we went through the models. Actually having Olins, that's, you know, I mean, presumably they're a decent shock. They've got the remote reservoir, that's nice. some adjustability here. But I think it is a little weird for them saying this is a blank canvas when you're charging a premium for it, right? Like, I get it that it is, but at the same time, like, you know, would you maybe be better off just putting a big bore kit on a 114 when it has the same stroke, to my knowledge? So it's a little weird, but I mean, it is nice to see they have actually thought about suspension and stuff like that.
We run, that is the product that we took basically directly out of the catalog, essentially, before it was released, and put it on our race bike. So a big upgrade for the performance of the bike, and also they just look cool.
Prior to this, if you wanted to make a performance touring motorcycle, you had to buy one of our standard bikes and do quite a bit of change to get it to sort of be a good baseline to start making a performance bagger out of. With the Road Glide ST and Street Glide ST, we now provide something right out of the box that just gives you a shortcut to your performance bagger dreams.
Okay, well that was cool. That was some extra info there on the STs. I think having the the big suspension upgrade, right? Extra ride height and travel length should be good for handling. But yeah, it's weird. So once again, 7th Sentinel here says a lot to pay for a blank canvas, but that's basically the Harley tax, right? So you don't even, at some level, have a stage 1 for your performance bagger. But, it's Harley. That's what they do. And, there are things you get. You get the short bags, but the blacked out look. You get the, the nice accents, the, bronze accents, which I think, go well with the idea of the bike. So that'll be interesting. So that'll bring us now into the CVO lineup. So they actually announced more in this event than I thought they did, so that'll be good to see.
You can make anything look good on paper, and you can pretty much sketch anything you want. But can you produce it in 3D? That's a different story.
Color, graphics, finishes. There's things that we're doing on these bikes that we haven't done on previous model years.
The motorcycle continues to have this really cool relationship with the rider because it's continuing to evolve and reveal itself and really speak to that premium nature of CVO. Custom Vehicle Operations is what CVO stands for. Started in '99. The idea was to...
I believe the FXR 3 and 4 were the first CVO models. So it was the last time you could buy Evo motors, the last FXR, and it was the first CVO.
Provide the highest level of factory customization to our customers that could possibly be achieved. That's been sort of the mantra of CVO all of these years, and it continues to be.
Paint and graphics and the tech and the audio and the features. CVO accentuates all of those things. The magic there is putting all of that together in one big package.
For CVO, we always try to up the game a little bit to give that customer something special.
Really wide variety of paint and graphics options for CVO for 22. I think everybody can find something that's going to speak to them.
I think they're really right there. This seems like the broadest and most diverse set of CVOs I've seen, which is really cool. There's everything from chromed out, very gaudy styles to blacked out not ghost flame, but more subtle flames and stuff. I like it.
They're all very unique and different from one another.
Our first kind of primary goal with model year 22 CVO was to interject some more color, as well as custom paint techniques that our customers come to love.
We really tried to make an impact with some bright, bold colors and contrast. So those schemes are two-tone and they reflect some of those really bold, saturated colors with pearl effects.
CVO is where we get the greatest opportunity to play and experiment. So we often work closely with Gunslinger.
Gunslinger is a company that's been in our CVO arsenal and family for a long time now, and they're inspiring us to push the limits. We try to do the same thing with them.
Gunslinger can go in there with a person with a brush by hand and really pinstripe in some sharp curves.
That hand-applied technique allows for very intricate 2 tones, 3 tones, airbrush drop shadows, and really translates into a truly custom look.
That's really cool. I didn't know they worked with other people, and I'll have to look more into Gunslinger. That's cool, and it's cool to see them using classic things like hand pinstriping, right? They could just have some cutout decals with a line. They come through, they spray some pinstripe over it, and they're good to go. But it's cool to see them actually doing those custom handmade things and, set it apart and really make it worth the money people are paying for these CVO top-end bikes that are 40, 50 grand.
We took the time to consider every part down to the little tiny details and really make something that has a custom feel for the rider.
These powertrains and accent colors actually match the paint job more than we've ever done before.
Scorched chrome in particular is such a great looking finish with that deep black, shiny look that just really works well with the blue steel paint.
Flames have been kind of coming back. We haven't done them in a while.
We wanted to do a ghost flame with our Fade technology, which is exclusive to Harley Davidson. And we do it in-house. It's a testament to the skills of our manufacturing facilities.
It's a paint mask technique that...
Skills of your manufacturing facilities. That look like your CNC programmers, but, that makes sense and they look great. So let's see here. Let's take a look at the chats. 7 Sentinel says they all look great and that the flames are 10 out of 10. I agree. Like, the CVO models in the past, I've been like, that's nice, but I think they've really stepped it up for 2022, in my opinion.
That allows the fade to go through the flame, remove the mask, and achieve the look.
From some angles, you won't even notice the flames, but other angles, they're loud and proud right in your face, which is really cool.
The CVO lineup this year features the Road Glide Limited. We brought it back for those customers that love that fixed fairing and a comfortable ride, and we just add to it with cosmetics down to the Alcantara that we put into the seat. It just stands apart.
We always try to have the ultimate suite of technology on the motorcycles as well, whether it's heated seat, heated grips, audio, huge piece of it.
We've added on the Rockford Stage 1 audio system onto the Limited and the Tri-Glide this year.
The Harley Davidson audio kind of ecosystem now, it steps light years above kind of where we were in the past. The partnership with Rockford Fosgate has truly allowed us to amplify it up 8 notches.
Every part of the motorcycle is thought about, and we try to have a little surprise or a little bit of detail that speaks to the rider and speaks to where the CVO is positioned in our portfolio, which is at the top. It has to be the best of everything.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of the CVOs. Interesting, they had some audio upgrades there. Not a huge audio on bike fan, but I can understand why people like it. It is pretty cool. But I'd be interested to see how good that stage 1 upgrade is. So I guess now we have stages for audio, right? So now we're bundling the stage 1 into the CVOs. So, I'd be interested to hear how good that is, and is it like a big upgrade? Is it, not enough that most CVO people would want something more? That would be interesting to know. Now it looks like we're going to get into the Lowrider S and ST, so let's see what they've got here. Oh, there that new gauge was. You guys see that? Let's see if we can pick that up. Oh man, we just missed it. Come on, give us the gauge. There it is. Oh, I had it. There it is. Okay. So it's mounted on the bars, it looks like, kind of in line with the fairing. Cool. So it's a single gauge. Looks pretty standard for Harley. You've got a tack. Oh no, maybe this is backwards actually from what I'm used to, like on the rubber mounted Sportsters, like my wife had a 2016, I believe it was. So this is interesting. So it's got a mechanical tack or a physical tack and then a digital display for the speed and all your lights, usual lights and stuff. But okay, so 1 gauge. I'm kind of a purist. I like the 2 gauges, but I can also see why they wouldn't want to add all that bulk up there if they're pulling them off the tank. But okay, interesting. So there we go. There's the gauge. So now we know.
We're just super excited about these 2 models. Lowrider S.
So Sentinel here says, how do you feel about the tack on the tank and speedo on the bars? That's really interesting, because that would really give them the best of both worlds, right? You could keep both gauges, you keep something on the tank, so that feels classic and, that feels right. But you still put the speedo up on the bars, make that, safer, easier to see, kind of cure that gripe that people have. I would have liked that. That would be a good way to go, in my opinion. The other thing I could see that I think I might prefer is keep both gauges on the tank like we had, but then add the little on the riser display from the what is that? The Fat Bob, I guess, has that. I think the Street Bob also has it, but anyway, that little gauge, that way you could see your speed at least, and still have the iconic on the tank gauges. But I think that's a good compromise you've got there.
And now our new lowrider family member, the Lowrider ST. We saw the reasons why Lowrider S was so popular. It gave you all of the great character and experience and emotional connection to our big twin powertrain, but in a package that was a little bit lighter, a little bit more nimble.
We had a couple years of production under our belt, so it was easy to see the tweaks that could be made to make that bike, which is already an incredible machine, and just take it to the next level.
First look from far away, you know it's a Lowrider S. Just the stance, just the presence of it. We retain the black and bronze. That's sort of like a trademark. And the gray is really hot in like a custom cars, hot rod scene right now. It's just the perfect secondary color.
The bike performs exactly how it looks, that raw, unbridled feel to it. We bumped the 114 up to a 117. It's really big news for Lowrider S fans. The powertrain is put.
So I'm going to take a little bit of a counter stance there and say that 3 cubic inches is not that big a deal. We're talking less than 3%, guys. I mean, I guess the big deal you could say is like, oh, this is the CVO motor. Like, we're back to the days of the Dyna Lowrider S with the 110. And it being the same as the CVO, but it doesn't seem like that big a deal to me. But let's see.
Out 125 foot-pounds of torque, so it's a noticeable kick in the pants. We've got the heavy breather intake, along with a new exhaust system.
Lowrider S gets the 117, which is really cool, and that's the biggest motor that we have out of the box. We've also played with the location of the instrumentation and the suspension. We brought the bike up off the ground a little bit more to give it a little more lean angle. We've also taken the instrumentation and moved it from the console and the fuel tank and put it up into the rider's eyesight. And that's
so it's interesting hearing that about the suspension. So that's a little subtle thing I didn't realize. So that's nice, because the Lowrider S still had the, it still does have the problem that it's, a Harley cruiser. The lean angle isn't great, but everything they can do to improve that, improve suspension travel is, a good thing in my book.
Something that we heard directly from riders that they wish they could had a little less movement in the neck and eyes to actually read the gauges of the motorcycle. If you think about the quintessential piece of DNA for modern Harley Davidson, it's Lowrider S. So what's going to be the natural progression?
Oh, there it is, the Lowrider ST. Interesting. So the fairing is a little more subdued than I expected, because I think this is based on the old, what is it, the FXR T fairing. It kind of like harkens back to that, but they've definitely smoothed it out a little bit. What do you guys think about it?
The Lowrider ST, we are super excited about what this is going to bring. This gets to that customer that may not need the full Grand American Touring, but is really looking for that performance package and some of the protection that the fairing brings.
There was a fundamental shift that we saw happening a few years back. What folks were doing is they were leaning into performance, and really was taking root in Southern California.
We were seeing a lot of customers modify their bikes by increasing the displacement, tweaking the suspension, going through the expense of putting saddlebags on the bikes, adding aftermarket fixed fairings.
They were either
I'm surprised these bikes are not a little cleaner and less
bikes by increasing the displacement, tweaking the suspension, going through the expense of putting saddlebags on the bikes, adding aftermarket.
Like, look at all the scratching up here. Like, I get it, these bikes are probably press bikes or something, and I've seen a lot of abuse, but you'd think that they'd have it, like, perfectly, they'd wipe it down. I've seen some smudges and stuff. I'm a little surprised.
Market fixed fairings.
They were either restoring FXRTs or FXRs and putting that fairing on there, or they were taking the fairing at a swap meet and trying to, figure out how to get it on their Dyna. A lot of the shows that we pay attention to around the world, we started to see just a...
Looks like Born Free there, out in Orange County, California.
A couple bikes that were like this. It'd be in a sea of 100 bikes that were kind of executed in the old manner. You would see 2 or 3 bikes that were done in this new way. And that's how we spot a trend. And that's where you have to go in and say, is there something here? Is this an anomaly, or is this something that's going to catch on?
We headed into the project with the pure emotion.
So it's interesting hearing them say that, right? So they're, and this goes both ways. I think on one hand, you'd like to see the motor company doing something original, not just looking at what aftermarket is doing and trying to make a production version of it, right? You'd like to see them come out with something that kind of blows everyone away. And I think you could argue that the Lowrider S really did that, where it, it took what maybe the aftermarket was doing, but then just went to the next level with it. I'm interested to see how people feel about this, whether it's did we copy what the aftermarket were doing or what builders were doing, or is this does this have something to take it over and above that level? Seven Sentinel says, I like the fairing, looks like a more stylized shark nose, and that the bags were taken from the Sport Glide. I think that's true. It looks like the shark nose, but single headlight and a little more, stylized. So maybe a hybrid between that and the Batwing. I think that's fair. And I think it's also fair to say the FXR T fairing would probably, could look a little out of place, especially by the time it's, kind of updated and stuff. It may look a little bit too bulbous, a little out of place on a production bike maybe. And I think looking at this as the replacement for the Sport Glide, they've hit it out of the park with the Lowrider ST, because it's just the fairing on the Sport Glide, I think it was cool, but it also didn't make a lot of sense. It didn't really have the looks, is what I should say. I think it just felt a little small and tacked on, whereas this feels really good. And the bags are a nice upgrade. It's another option, right? So yeah, it was cool. I mean, it's a good reuse of the tooling and the bags, right? Keep those in production, hopefully keep the cost down a little bit because of that.
What we want it to look like. Just like any other Harley, there's always respect to the history, being able to trace back the family tree. We have so much respect to FXR and FXRT. Wheelie G and design team came up with that iconic look.
Oh, interesting. So I'm getting it a little bit confused with, I think, the police fairing.
Respect to FXR and FXRT. Wheelie G and design team came up with that.
So it actually looks more in line with that even. So it's just like a more updated, stylized version of the FXRT. So I'll correct that. Yeah, it's less, kind of forget what I was saying. I was thinking of the police fairing with the big lights on the side. Okay, cool.
Iconic look. When I sketched this bike, this fairing in particular, I believe the bike deserves its own new identity, something more modern.
This is a purpose-built fairing. The styling team really took their time to massage it to get it to the spot where you see it today. You've got the side ducts straddling the headlight, which is a direct throwback to the 80s FXRT. And through CFD simulation, the aerodynamic package that you've got on this vehicle is really dynamite.
So that's good to hear them saying that they're using CFD, which I believe is computational fluid dynamics. So they're really looking and trying to avoid you having that buffeting, that the wind hitting like the top of your helmet and shaking you, according to them. So hopefully that's true, because that can be a problem for fairings. So good to see them paying attention to details like that and not just slapping something that looks good on and it's going to suck in the real world for people who actually want to ride their bikes.
Lowrider S is a little more relaxed cruiser. This one, I wanted riders to be in charge of the bike, sitting on top of the bike rather than sitting in the bike.
This is a true lightweight bagger. It's got the performance punch, that 125 foot-pounds of torque, and also comfortable on the long haul. The bike comes standard with cruise control. We wanted the tall suspension in the rear, and that was a 56 millimeter shock. We did shift the saddlebags vertically 2 inches on a motorcycle.
So that's good to hear too. Like, yeah, look at all that clearance. It doesn't look like a stock Harley, right? This looks very performance bagger or more along the lines of a club style bike. So that's definitely cool, and that's going to help with the rake and turning performance and keeping the bags up high out of the way. Cool.
Compared to the Sport Glide, and you can remove the saddlebag in seconds.
For Lowrider ST, we have a suite of parts and accessories products. And this audio system for Lowrider ST, it integrates seamlessly, and it's going to be loud. Customers are going to want to hear this thing with a full face helmet on, because that's how they ride. So we have something that's waterproof, it's going to withstand the elements. It's truly the perfect package for our audio and performance customers.
Okay, so they are selling it as a lightweight bagger, which makes sense. And it's cool to see they have like audio and stuff like that already ready to go for people who want that. And it, it's all integrated, looks sleek, and presumably it'll work well and integrate well. 7 Sentinel says it will be great to get to test ride this. I wonder if the openings in the fairings will cause whistling. I don't know. I mean, I would hope not. Hopefully that was part of their whole thing. But yeah, that would be a good thing. You got to test ride it and see how it works in the real world, and see if it works for you, your height, your helmet, your everything, right? He also says, oh my gosh, cruise control. Yes. Cruise control is, great for long distance, and presumably if you've got bags and everything, this bike looks well set up for it. I think the Lowrider S had that too, even the Dyna, but yeah, definitely a good feature.
I still remember the excitement first time we saw the bike, which was the mirror image of my sketch.
When we stepped back and looked at the finished product, every single person that I saw walk by that bike just stopped in their tracks and had that wow moment. Like, that's special.
I think to some customers, this is going to be their version of touring. It's a new personality. It's a slightly new way to tour. If you live somewhere where you want to do some canyon carving or just some cruising, some performance riding, and a couple times a year you want to throw on some gear and head to Daytona or head to Sturgis or head to Fakkersee, Lowrider ST is just a great choice. It's the perfect combination of performance and touring.
So I think that is a good point, right? The FXR ST could be like a great bike for day to day. You could take the bags off. You got the fairing if you're just riding, 10 to 30 miles or whatever to work and back, right? But yeah, you could throw the bags on, throw some luggage on top, and take a ride across the country. So I think it's definitely a cool bike, and I think it could become, iconic along with the the Lowrider S.
I absolutely love designing riding gear. I approach my product design with a lot of curiosity, a lot of wide eyes. I'm overturning every stone. The world is your oyster. The process for materialization goes through many, many hands. We have to feel it, we have to stretch it, we have to get a sample of it stitched up so we can see what it looks like and understand how it actually functions. For season 22, it's an on and off the bike aesthetic we're approaching. Look a little bit more casual, but still have all the riding feature and functions to protect our riders. One of our new processes is partnering with the bike team on graphic or style of jacket that would fit that rider. For instance, our SD model bikes, we designed the jackets to have that heritage aesthetic, so drawing.
So I'm not super interested in the apparel and stuff, but yeah, we'll keep watching this and see if there's anything interesting here. I haven't seen anything that looks out of the ordinary for Harley, but let me know if you guys see anything that jumps out at you.
Back on the features of a traditional biker jacket, but making it a little bit modern and also making it look a little bit West Coast vibe. So the jacket itself complements the bike style. It's so important for us to look at things from a very abstract way and then pull those parts and see how they can come together to create something beautiful and seamless for that customer. My hope is that when they try on that jacket, they feel they were part of the process in that design, that that jacket was made for them.
Riding is what it's all about. 2022 is going to be a very, very exciting year. The King of the Baggers, which will be incredible for Daytona Bike Week. We're going to be watching them on the high banks down in Daytona and throughout the rest of the season and cheer that team on, cheer the riders on. I love walking down Main Street in Daytona and Sturgis, or doing the loop at Fauquerçay around the lake. There's so many.
They keep mentioning this La Crusade. I think I've heard it before, but they're treating it like a bigger thing than I thought it was. But, I'll have to look that up and see.
Opportunities to throw your leg over your Harley Davidson and enjoy the ride. Right around the corner is a major celebration of 120 years of this fantastic brand. The heritage goes all the way back to 1903. When my relatives and Bill Harley rolled the first bike out of the shed, it's just become bigger and bigger and bigger. We're going to be kicking off the Road to Harley Davidson Homecoming Challenge. The ride challenge will run from April 1st through the end of September, and we will be selecting 120 riders from the challenge for an all-expenses-paid trip to celebrate with us the 120th anniversary at the Harley Davidson Homecoming event in Milwaukee in the summer of 2023. I can't wait to meet that group of riders. What a celebration it's going to be.
Harley Davidson has a rich and storied history tied to racing and performance. From board track to flat track, top fuel drag racing, and now bagger racing. We've been there and we've stood at the top of the podium. The bikes we shared with you today are directly connected to that lineage, and there's much more to come. In the coming months, we'll share the next chapter of the Sportster story, and there are a few more surprises in store for 2022. It's going to be an exciting year full of incredible adventures. We hope you'll join us at one of the many events we'll be participating in throughout the coming year. And don't forget to mark your calendars for the 120th anniversary homecoming celebration in Milwaukee coming in 2023. This one's going to be special, and you won't want to miss it. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
This is just the beginning of 22. Our product range for this upcoming year is going to continue to reveal itself. In all of our segments, performance has become very relevant. Certainly, Sportster S and Pan America totally embody that with the Rev Max architecture. In the cruiser segment, it's the Lowrider S, Lowrider ST. In touring, it's the Street Glide and Road Glide STs. And then we've got some other things up our sleeve and future product we're really excited about that's going to take this idea even further. We're at the tip of the iceberg of what we can do in terms of performance and the products.
Well, there we go, guys. That brings us to the end of the Further Faster event. So it looks like they were hinting at maybe another Revolution Max base model. Maybe this is the Bronx model that kind of got cut. Maybe they just pushed it back a little bit. But let me know what you guys think the next model would be and the next model should be. What should they put the Revolution Max in? And what should, what are they going to announce later in the year, presumably? Thanks, guys, for sticking around. I've really appreciated having you guys here, all your comments, and let me know if you want me to do another event like this in the future, right? Let's, did you guys enjoy this? Was the time good? Was it too long? I wasn't really expecting to go a full, basically 2 hours here. I was thinking we'd be closer to an hour, but I've enjoyed it. That's why I've been doing it this long. I hope you guys have too. And I'll plan to do another event similar time next week. And we'll see if we can come up with some new topics, maybe something new to react to. And, maybe venture outside of the Harley realm. Maybe we'll get to Triumph or Indian, another brand. Let me know what you guys want to see. Thanks again for hanging out, and we'll